Podcast. Hey guys, it's Ashley,
Lauren,
and Naz.
Do you get excited when we say our names out loud? Like, I know that sounds really conceited. I mean, like when Crystalia, no.
Crystalia doesn't say his name.
He doesn't.
Obviously,
He just starts talking?
thinks it's so dumb when people say, "It's Chris." Like, duh, you clicked on the podcast.
Well,
you know?
wait, shit. Should we just stop introducing?
No, because
ourselves?
people are still we just recorded a podcast. I can't remember what it was. I think it was the one with Jonathan, where someone was like messaging me something that Lauren said. And
Really?
I'm like, this wasn't
I
me.
don't know.
I don't know if we have to say our name anymore, but I think people still confuse Lauren and I.
Well, we have a
weird.
guest.
My
Which is so
name.
weird because
Yes,
you guys
yes.
sound more
We have a
similar than
guest
I
who
do.
actually has to introduce herself. So go ahead.
My name's Nicoletta, and before we even talk about me, I want to know how Jonathan introduced himself.
Oh my
Because I need to know
God.
for personal reasons.
I
I
think
don't
we
even know
introduced
who-
him because she said Jonathan Vanessa wrong.
No, that was in the middle
She
of the
said,
podcast.
No, she said JV.
I said
something.
JVS.
Oh, that's what it was. JVS.
Yeah, but that's not how we introduced him. That was
No,
in the
now
middle.
I forget. Did I just say it's Jonathan from Clear
Yeah,
Eye?
and he was just iconic, and he came in here, he rolled a quick, cute blunt, and
No, it is gorgeous.
It was a gorgeous blunt, and then we went on with
seems
our
like he would
day.
do everything
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah.
Smoking weed with him was like I was smoking weed with him. I was like, I can't believe it. It was like an outer body experience. I'm like, is this for real? Like,
I
it's
love
like
it.
I woke up and thought I dreamed that.
He's like probably the most famous person in the country right now.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
And you had him on your
I would
podcast.
say reality star.
And now you
no,
know.
no, he's more than a reality
Yeah,
star.
definitely transcendent.
If you're hanging out with
from-
Gigi
you
Hadid,
cannot tell me that, like, if you go up to your random ass American, that they're gonna know who Jonathan is versus an actual A-list actress.
No, I think they will because of billboards and because Netflix is bigger now than actual. Like,
Billboards is
And
only
they've been going to
here.
Middle America and
Yeah.
the South to get
That's
their
true.
clientele.
Yeah.
that is true. But billboards only in LA, pretty much.
No, all in Florida. Yeah, my parents told me Netflix has billboards everywhere. That's how Netflix became so huge because they took over the billboard.
They also
no one else
had
was doing billboards like they
commercial
were.
on when I was watching The Bachelorette last night.
Wait,
The
Queer
Queer
Eye
Eye?
had a commercial?
No, but Netflix
Oh,
did.
Netflix.
for
Oh,
another
really?
thing. So they have
Yeah.
commercials on
Yeah,
radio
they're
stations
interesting.
now too.
I
That's
just
crazy.
see them hanging out with Gigi and like all these crazy people, like Dua Lipa and all these people, and I'm like, you guys are A-list now, basically.
Do you guys know that like 75% of America still watches their movies via DVD? The
No.
DVD is still the 75% of how people watch movies at home.
Really?
Those probably aren't the people listening to your
I
podcast.
really don't, I don't know how that's true.
I don't know. It's so
I don't
crazy.
know. I believe that, I guess.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Nicoletta,
All right,
you
so
wait.
who is Nicoletta?
Yeah, Nicoletta, introduce yourself.
Introduce
what your
myself.
expertise is in.
Only Jonathan gets an intro for himself. I'm Nicoletta. I was lucky to meet Ashley because she came on our podcast called Sluts and Scholars because a coworker of ours works on Clever. And I am a marriage and family therapy associate and sexologist here in Los Angeles. That means I study sex as my profession. And it's kind of like regular therapy, but I see people who are presenting with like sexuality issues. And yeah, then I do my podcast and radio show, Sluts and Scholars.
Okay, so tell us what sluts and scholars means. Because it's two things that don't often get put together.
Well, we hope that they can get put together. It's kind of reclaiming the word slut because I feel like if you're listening, you might have an immediate reaction to that word of like, oh, like that's a negative thing. We see it as, a sexually liberated person who's taking ownership over their sexuality and likes sex or talking about sex, even if they're not having that much of it. Like anyone could be a slut, and that it can be a positive thing. And so I was getting a lot of pushback, I think, from people in the therapy community and like old school therapists and psychologists that I was talking about sex too much and it wasn't appropriate and I should dress more conservatively and I should do X, Y, and Z. And so in my head, I'm like, why can't I be smart and good at my job and responsible and also like sex?
Yeah.
Like these two things should be able to coexist together.
Right.
So I came up with the name when I was at a Korean spa with this porn performer, Nina Hartley. And so we were talking about that, and we came up with the idea Sluts and Scholars. And so that's turned it into what it is today. But I think like the big breaking point was somebody featured me in their story talking about something not sexual on Facebook, and they did not approve the ad because they said I had too much cleavage.
Wow.
That is so old.
It was about war veterans.
What, like
and
1950s? That's so weird.
Yeah, it was fucked up. And
I
like,
don't know if that's weird. I feel like that still happens.
Totally.
Maybe we've been in
And it's
LA too long.
I think what I love about you, Nicoletta, is I feel like you're helping people start the conversation of like navigating sexuality in today's norms. And I was wondering if you could kind of go into what like your definition of sex is.
my definition of sex, I think it's so broad. I think most of us are taught that sex is just penis and vagina penetration, and that is so fucking limiting. I could be having sex right now, and this could be sex for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's all like contingent on what you consider to be sexual, right?
Like
What
me
if I find-
talking and giving the podcast is sexy. I could have like a Kegel ball in. I could have like a butt plug in, and that could be sex. I don't.
See, I was gonna say
But-
I was with my fiance.
Yes,
a couple days ago at
congratulations.
Shake Shack, and I go, "There's nothing more pleasurable than
Maybe
Shake Shack."
Shake Shack is sex.
Maybe
definition
Shake
of sex
Is Shake Shack.
That's
That's
hilarious.
sorry,
it. It's like we were. I'm sure Ash and I were going to get into it that we would always pick food over sex, but maybe food is our sex.
Well, you
know.
know, I mean, why pick? You can have food and sex
Yeah.
together.
That's it. That's
like
going
now that you
down
have
tonight.
a fiance, you can do the Shake Shack on your body.
Yes.
You can
Just ask for the Shake Shack sauce. Be like, can I have that on the side?
Oh yes,
Yes.
I'm all about that. So yeah, I think it's especially because there are people who maybe don't have penises or don't have vaginas. Like there's so many ways to have sex. It could be self pleasure. It could just be kissing.
See, it can just be kissing. This is why I love being on your podcast, because I was like, wait a second, what if I like dry humping and making out more than anything? And you're like, well, that could be like that's
your
sex.
definition of
Yeah.
sex. Yeah, 100%.
I like to, just like Shake Shack, I like to see it as like, it's like a menu of items. So there's lots of things that you can choose from and pick from, like on your menu that day. Maybe sometimes you just feel like dry humping, and maybe sometimes you want the P and the V. Like,
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So fascinating.
So
how would you define it?
Define sex?
Yeah.
I would probably say penis and vagina.
But, like,
just by
what
like
if-
like clinical,
Well, because that's what we're taught,
definition.
right?
Yeah.
Like when we say like, oh, well, did you fuck? Like
Yeah.
that's what we mean.
Exactly.
Like, oh, did you hook up? Like that's probably what we
When
mean.
someone asked me, did you have sex last time? I'm like, no, I couldn't get the Shake Shack, you know?
That's funny.
Gergie agrees.
How does your dog define sex?
Oh, he loves humping.
I was gonna say pepperoni.
Oh, pepperoni, a little. Yeah.
Okay, well, take advice from the dog that like sometimes just humping inanimate objects could also be sex. I
Well,
guess.
Laura and I always talk about humping our pillow. Wait, where's
Now
this where
just
we
found
had
this out. Yeah.
Wait, is this what you just found out?
Yeah.
I told you this casually a couple weeks ago. I was
Was
like,
that a thing you did?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
like
definitely our
us
first.
as kids would just do it. We
Yeah.
didn't know
Just
what
hump
we
a
were
pillow,
doing,
and
really.
I never knew that
Did
that
you do
could
the
like
pillow?
get. I never even thought to hump a pillow. I've only thought to hump a person.
What did you hump as a child?
I humped people.
No, as a kid.
I mean, I don't think I humped as a kid. I think I just humped. I
That's
started
kinda
dry
normal.
humping
I
in like middle
totally
school.
normal, but
yeah.
Lauren and I definitely were at it. I was like,
My mom said that Ashley was like 2 years old in her crib.
totally.
That's pretty normal. Like kids figure out in the womb you have a sexuality. I mean, unless you identify as asexual, like little kids can get erections, can get aroused. So like, yes, I mean they don't see it as
Little
sexual.
boys?
Like,
Well,
Baby boys
I
can
told
get
you guys, I
erections.
got aroused watching Jerry
Yeah.
Springer, like
No, I know
11.
that.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
understand
it's
that,
like-
but 11.
it probably wasn't sexual for you. You just like figured out that like, oh, if I rub myself up against this pillow fort, like it will feel good. My weapon of choice was the pole at the park.
Oh, me too.
Yes, were you on there?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you do
You
with
would
the pole at
climb
the
like
park?
up the
Yeah, you
pole.
climb and you just, like,
How
hang there.
funny is that?
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
I think I did that too. Just the one pole that you climbed
You climb up, but you like put it between your legs real good. Just
Yeah,
sounds so
and you
fucked
just
up.
kinda
Guys,
like-
this is crazy.
We can all go. Honestly, I don't think I have the upper body strength for it anymore. But like at the time, I could hang there for a long time.
Yeah, and we used to say, "Do you want to go play on the pole?" And,
Yeah.
like we would do that.
Oh, well, I used to
That's so
twist like a
interesting.
stripper on the pole, but just because I thought it was artistic. Like I
Just
literally
being
was like, you're
artistic.
beautiful.
Because
Yeah.
it is. There's a lot of beautiful dancing that can happen on a pole.
Wait, I want to talk about being asexual
I
again.
was just gonna ask her
Like,
that.
how
Sure.
many people are asexual?
I heard it was 1 in 100.
You know, I think the estimates vary because I think there is still shame around it, which is weird because it's like if you don't have enough sex, there's shame, and then if you have too much sex, there's shame. So it's like
You can't fucking win in this
can't
world.
win. Like you get stuck in the middle. But I think it depends how we define asexual. Like some people will just say it's to have no desire to have sexual interactions with anybody. I think there's another term, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, like gray sexual, which is like maybe you only like something else in between where maybe you only like to have sexual stuff with yourself.
Okay.
But I think it's pretty rare.
But those people still would be going after relationships for like emotional reasons, right?
Yeah, I mean, some might not want any, but I think a lot of them might want relationships, emotional connections with
Obviously,
people.
I think that's usually the priority when you get in a relationship is the emotional stuff,
Yeah.
not the like, oh, I'd like to bang someone every day. I don't think anybody really thinks about
Well,
that.
no,
one.
a lot of people just marry people because of what they look like and because they're physically attracted to them. No?
I think that's
Some.
attraction. Maybe
I don't think
different
that's.
than like the
I
actual
personally don't think
physical
that's
reason.
why you should, but a lot of people just get married for the physical aspect of things.
Yeah, and I
so?
mean,
Right.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
fades.
Yeah, no, for sure.
definitely.
Not for everyone. I
Definitely.
mean, hopefully you can still be attracted to your partner after a long time, but then attraction changes and you get down to the nitty gritty. And so there's other things obviously that are important in a relationship too. But I think it's tougher than to find a partner who also is okay with that. I think maybe a lot of folks who are asexual might choose to enter non-monogamy because then their partner can like potentially get their sexual needs met elsewhere, and then they have a different kind of friendship relationship.
If like a person who's asexual starts having sex, like are
I'm
they
sure
not
they-
going to enjoy
which
it?
I'm sure they
Are-
do.
Are they not going to enjoy it? They can have sex. They're just not going to like
Do
it.
they not get off of it? Like what?
I mean, I know people who have branded themselves as asexual and they have had sexual interactions and they said they were enjoyable. They just like, it's because it sort of like presented itself to them and they like decided to give it a try. But they remarked that they had like no desire to seek that out in their life and that it just wasn't something that was of importance to them.
Okay.
Does asexual?
So maybe it's more like a spectrum, like there's levels.
Yeah, I feel like everything's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Does it affect like being attracted to people being asexual? Like
I think it's different person to person.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Because then what is attraction? Like you
Right.
could be attracted to somebody's looks, you could be attracted to
Right.
their power,
Smell.
their smell, but it might not be like, oh, I want to like oh, that person's hot, I want to fuck them. It might be like, oh, that person's interesting, I'd like to get to know them and
Right.
develop a bond.
So being sexually happy is so important, whether you're single, in a relationship, in several relationships, if you're a guy, a girl, non-binary, whatever, having a fulfilling sex life is so key. And that's why I personally love Honey. So if you guys haven't heard of them, you need to, and you need them in your life. Love Honey is one of the world's biggest online retailers, and they stock all kinds of sex toys, lingerie, and other amazing things that will literally revolutionize your sex life. I mean this.
You know how some people like are very nervous about walking into a sex shop because they don't want people like looking at them and being like, "Ooh, I wonder what you're going to use that for." Well,
Right.
what is nice about Love
Put it
Honey?
in my vagina.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious what you're going to probably do with it. But Love Honey is nice because they deliver straight from Atlanta to your door in super discreet packaging. And if, you're like us, you may want to get your hands on that new toy super fast, and they express stuff with 1 day shipping.
Can I just tell everyone real quick about the clit sucker? If you've never tried a
I've
clit
never-
sucker, you guys, thanks to Love Honey, I have one now, and it's my favorite toy
So
ever.
funny.
Please
The-
try it. Everyone, please try it if you're comfortable and you want to, because I think every woman should at least try it once in their life.
They also have 24-hour customer service to help you with any question you have. And there's a ton of handy guides to help you out with your new toys and such.
Let's bring on those 12 orgasms, right? So because we love it so much and we want you to have 12 amazing orgasms, we're giving you an incredible discount offer. Get 20% off everything by going to the link lovehoney.com/getit. Follow that link and your discount will be automatically applied at checkout. So whatever you're after, go to the site, pick something up, and let the orgasms begin. So I want to know how you become a sexologist. And like, what's the curriculum?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, maybe.
The curriculum is fun. So I did my undergrad at Stanford, and I decided to get a higher education degree to practice marriage and family therapy. So I had to do like a regular master's program. I did that at Pepperdine. So that's in clinical psychology. And then most therapists, most schools only offer like one class on sex and sexuality. This is for therapists, this is for OBGYNs, this is for general practitioners. Like most don't have any classes on sex, which I think is unfortunate and not enough.
I would take them all.
Yeah, so also even if they're
Interesting.
treating
Yeah.
something sexually related, they might not have any background. So I was like, I really want this to be my specialty. So I found this school based out of Philadelphia called Widener, and they have a master's and a PhD program in human sexuality. So I did that, and that curriculum was much more fun than the general psychology one.
I think it's so fucked up that like in most American public school systems, like we don't talk about sex enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why people grow up being ashamed of their sexuality.
Totally.
And that's why we think too much cleavage on like a digital commercial is wrong.
Yes.
Because
I'm
it's
gonna
like
scar all
taboo.
those
Like no
people.
one grows up talking about it.
Right, and then parents aren't taught how to talk about it, but there's one thing that they do in this school program, and for sexologists, it's called a SAR, sexual attitude reassessment. And in that, they kind of like show you different videos and like stimuli to shock you. And so you could watch everything from like bestiality to, yes, it's included, to just like different porn that you watch like in class with
Wait,
your
what's
with your
bestiality?
teachers.
When you fuck animals.
That's what it's called, bestiality.
Yeah.
And ZooTube is a thing, right?
What's ZooTube?
Or it's-
Oh my god.
You just made
Yeah. It's bestiality on the internet, I think.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so shit
well-
gets real in those classes. And I remember one time we were in a lecture hall, and they were doing a kink BDSM demonstration. And so I'm literally sitting there with all of my cohort, all of my classmates, all of my professors, and there's like 3 semi-naked people on the front podium where they would usually do like chemistry experiments, getting like spanked and flogged like in a well-lit lecture hall.
That is so weird. And then like you're talking about like what's going on in their brain, like why the spank
so
is stimulating the
interesting.
penis and stuff.
Yeah, they're just like, they're showing us how it's done and what it looks like and consent and boundaries, but then they're also doing demos. And I'm just, you're sitting there with your classmates and your teachers.
So weird.
And it did feel weird because it's like,
feel.
but I was excited. I was like, I can't believe this is my
This is
class.
my
Yeah,
class.
that's cool. It's so progressive.
I get to write a paper on this. I get a letter grade in this. I
And
get
you're
a doctorate for
fully
this.
invested.
so
and
crazy.
interested.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know this is like sounds super ignorant of me, but I just feel like maybe people being like ashamed and being scared to talk about it and all
Yeah.
that stuff is very like 19 something and not of like the upcoming generations. But I guess am I wrong?
What do you guys think?
Okay, well, I heard that our generation is the least sexually active generation in a really long time.
Wait, when you say our generation, you mean
our generation as
millennial?
millennials.
Okay.
Yes, and I think it's because why did I say that?
I don't remember now. Darn it.
Darn it, I don't even remember why that is.
You think
but
because of technology?
Honestly,
I'm
I've
pretty
heard
sure
so
it
many-
wasn't technology, which is why it was weird.
it was guys didn't want to put in the effort or something like that. Like they'd rather just get off on their own and not even put in the effort to meet a girl.
Yeah.
Which we've seen and experienced
we've definitely
In your own
personally.
dating
So
lives,
I
yeah.
feel like maybe we're not talking about sex as much just because I heard that statistic.
I think maybe the reasons for like the shame changing might be different than they were in like 1950s, but I do feel like it's still prevalent because parents aren't taught how to talk about sex.
Well, I
like-
will say Lauren and I never got the talk. Do I think it affected us? I don't know.
Did you get the talk?
My dad had the condom talk with me.
I think the
And
problem
the
is
STD
we got a
talk with me.
period talk.
I didn't even get
I got
that.
my period when I was 9, so I thought I was going to die,
Yeah.
just eternally bleeding. But
and
yeah.
that's traumatic. Like
Yeah.
if you don't know what's coming and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden you're bleeding and
It's
like
so
you don't
fucked.
know what to do about it, like that's fucking scary.
I've
So
talked about my
scary.
endo before, but after this, I'd love to talk to you about it. 'Cause I
Sure,
had such
that's a big thing that
shitty
affects
experience, because my
sexuality.
parents are Catholics. They didn't want me to be on birth control,
Yeah.
so I just thought I had these like excruciating periods. But anyways,
I think
won't-
that's an example
I
right
think
here
you should
that
totally
three
talk about it now if you're comfortable.
three
Okay,
out
yeah.
of 4 of us have not had I don't even like calling it a sexuality talk. We try to, like, when I say we, I mean like sex therapists, I think try to label it as a conversation, because it should be something that's ongoing as opposed to this like awkward, way too late, like, let's talk about sex when you might already be having it, as opposed to introducing it little by little from a young age in like an age appropriate way.
Right. Like, I just remember, I guess when I was little, normal asking like, where's babies coming from, and like never getting an answer of any like legitimacy.
Really?
No, totally.
Like, you guys ever walked in on your parents?
No.
Fuck no.
I did. So I was like, oh, that's a thing.
No way.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
When I was little, I think you know what's weird? I think I already knew what it was, and I was young.
I'm sure you did,
But
because otherwise you would just be
South
like, they're
Florida,
just like...
I don't know. I like watched a lot of like adult stuff when I was little.
I just didn't know how it went down. Like, I thought that for a long time, until I was, like, literally, I went through sex ed.
She went through sex ed in
sixth grade.
and
at the end of
didn't
sixth
get
grade,
it.
I didn't know that the penis went inside the vagina.
No
because they never
They
really
never
said.
fucking said
They
it.
really never. You like alluded. It was totally alluded to.
What did
in
they
our
say?
school.
They just like
Yeah.
the sperm meets the egg. They never
You're like,
tell you how it got
Where
there.
did they meet?
So I
Like,
thought
at
like
the
rolling
movies?
around.
I bet a
and
lot of
making
people
out.
listening agree.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
So until a sleepover with
I
our friends,
remember.
I didn't know.
Me and Sierra had to tell you guys, and you like thought like you like put it in your belly button or something.
No, I thought maybe you swallowed the semen and it got there, but like I didn't know until I was going to middle school, y'all. Since we moved into a new place, we are cleaning out the closets. We're starting fresh. So we put a couple of items on Poshmark. My handle is Ike and Eddie Lauren, and Ashley and I are combining our wardrobe onto
because
there.
we combine our wardrobe in all of life.
And we got some great dresses on there. You'd have to download the free Poshmark app. Poshmark carries women's, kids, and men. Poshmark has tons of brands to shop. Like, we put House of CB dresses up there, really expensive, lovely bikinis.
Yeah, so what Poshmark is nice for, it's like when something's too nice to donate, but you've worn it a couple too many times that you don't really want to wear it again. So you decide to put it up for resale. You know, the ones that we put up, actually the House CB dresses still have their tags on. They weren't in the right size. So there's that. And then there's like lightly worn items and new bathing suits up on ours. And Lauren, again, repeat what that is.
It's Ike and Eddie, IACONETTI Lauren.
And I'm actually on there too. My handle's at Naz Perez. And the reason why I love Poshmark is because it's literally the easiest way to make money. And they have tons of brands to shop from, like House of CB, like Lauren was saying. They have Off-White on there, which is my favorite brand. And you guys won't believe the deals that you'll find on Poshmark.
I've been keeping my eye out for these Doc Martens sandals that are like $50 less, and they're like not even worn. So I'm probably going to buy that on Poshmark.
Right. And it's the easiest way to buy and sell items.
And you guys, what we put up there was my engagement dress, quote, quote. It was not the actual one I wore, but it is the same style from House of CB.
Sorry, guys, it's been sold today, though.
Yeah, I know.
Sold.
Well, that's just know to look out for things like
There's
that.
another gorgeous dress on there, though.
Yeah, there's another amazing one that was my backup engagement dress.
What I love about it too is that it's easy for the buyer and the seller when it comes to shipping. Like, that's the best, because I hate shipping things, and Poshmark makes it so easy if you're the buyer or the seller. And right now we are offering everyone $5 off your first order. So you guys, download the free Poshmark app. It carries women, kids, men's. You'll get $5 off. All you have to do is type in Lauren and Ashley's handle, which is
Ike and Eddie Lauren,
and my handle, which is at Naz Perez.
And
Guys, I didn't know
get $5 off.
they had men's stuff. That's good to know.
Yeah, they got everything.
In case I want to sell some of Jared's shit when he moves in. I love you, baby.
That's amazing.
All right, back to the show.
You know what's fucked, Nicoletta, that just popped into my head?
What?
So I didn't lose my virginity until after I turned 21. But because I was so late in my peer group to lose it, in my head I was like, oh, it's okay. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to ask my friends because I'm embarrassed, but the guy will know what to do. Which just sparked a question in my head that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
How do little boys find out how to do it? Like, how do they, if they don't have like a father figure, like, isn't that mind-boggling to you? It's like, and then isn't that also fucked in retrospect that
You're
I,
putting
as a
all the
woman,
pressure.
and
Wanted
I'm
to
like,
rely
the
on this
man's going
guy.
to teach me how to have sex. That's fucked up. I should know how to have sex. I should know what my vagina looks like. Like, I should know all that stuff.
Well, and I think that's the trouble, is that I think parents who are more conservative think that they're maybe protecting their kids, but they're actually setting them up to like not have ownership over their bodies and to feel confident and have pleasurable and healthy experiences.
Right.
So that, I would say, that's not good for kids. But I think we view it more as like, oh, we don't want them to like go down this dangerous path. It's like they're going to go there, whether you talk to them about it or not, but you might have a chance to like help them explore it in a healthy way. What was your question about how do boys figure it out?
I mean, it's not really a question for you to answer. It's just in my head, I always wondered, how do guys
It must
even
be
learn?
so much scary
But
for them to lose it.
must
I don't know.
It must
It's more
be.
embarrassing maybe because like, oh, I put it in and
that's
How do I
done.
get it in there?
yeah. Like we honestly could just lay there.
Exactly.
You don't need to really move.
But for me, this sounds so basic. I feel like I'm about to order a pumpkin spice latte when I say this. But Samantha Jones was one of the first women that I saw on TV in the media that like had an influence on me way back in the day when Sex and the City had just come out, where I was like, oh yeah, women, we can fuck whoever we want. Like it doesn't have to be.
You were saying when 1997?
Yeah, no, I watched like reruns a little bit later in the 2000s.
Okay, yeah.
Like late at night when my parents
when
were in
you were,
bed.
like,
That's when I would
when
watch
we
it.
watch DVDs.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a Samantha Jones. So,
Lauren and I used to watch Dr. Sue Johansson when mom and dad went to bed.
yes, she was the best.
Dr.
Is she
Sue.
alive?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think
We
so.
were like, that's
Dr.
how
Ruth is
we
still alive.
She
learned
was the
about that shit. We were like,
best.
this is so stupid, but we really were fucking listening and
totally.
learning.
We were like, oh my God.
Dr. Sue's a real OG. My question to you is, because I feel like women like Samantha Jones, because in this day and age, a lot of women are like, now we kind of are having sex like men, like that episode is, where we're like, we can fuck whoever we want. I feel like women in general are taking more ownership of their sexuality. Do you think that is affecting people actually settling down and being in relationships? Do you think that throws men off?
Well, when you say, I wonder who defines it as like sex like men. Like, why does it make it sex like men?
Right. Like, see,
Okay.
even that in itself. Well, I was saying that because that's the quote she
the
actually
quote,
said in the
yeah.
episode. I wasn't actually saying that, like,
Yeah.
in life.
I
but in the
fuck like a
episode,
man,
she's
think
like,
like a
we can
lady."
fuck like men. Yeah.
I think it's more of like, why buy the milk when you can why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free?
Yeah.
Say more.
Which is, you know how like we're kind of like brought up with like, don't do anything without commitment or
Oh, like we're
even
supposed
a
to get
ring on
that
your
first.
finger.
Keep
Yeah.
them
Yeah,
interested.
because like, why would he want to commit to you if he's going to get that?
I mean, I hate to promote game playing, but I do think that whether it's just having so much social media stuff and dating apps and things, like I think we do live in a very get it right now type of culture. And so if it's not working out with somebody, like oftentimes I think couples don't want to put in the work because they're like, oh, I'll just get this newer, better model and I won't have to put in the work at least for a little while. And so I think that's the issue with the swiping thing is it's like everything seems so replaceable that people invest less and they're just used to like getting that immediate gratification that I think it does affect stuff. And I think in terms of people like learning how, I think porn can be great entertainment for lots of people, but that's what it is. It's entertainment and it's not reality. And so unfortunately a lot of young people are getting their sex education from that and like in a vacuum and not getting other sex ed from other people. And so they're maybe not learning that like that's not the reality. Like this isn't just entertainment. This is like learning how to drive a car from watching The Fast and the Furious. Like it's not the fucking same.
So how do you recommend like people listening now to explore their sexuality and learn that stuff if they didn't have the talk? Like if their parents never gave them the talk and they shouldn't watch porn, how should they do it?
Well, listen to this episode. Check out Sluts and Scholars. Visit a sex positive sex therapist. I mean, I think the exploration starts with yourself and having that conversation with yourself of like, how was I taught about sex growing up? What were my models for sex and sexuality and for relationships? And how does that affect me now? Like getting to the bottom of like where that comes from. And then, practicing self-exploration. And I think there's a lot of great ways to do that. For people with vaginas out there, there's a great book called Becoming Clitorate. That's a good one. And then another one called Come As You Are.
I gotta send that to a couple guys I know.
Hey, I think everyone...
This is what the vagina looks like.
Everyone who loves somebody with a vagina should read Becoming Clitorate.
That's funny. There's two different kinds. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of different kinds, but I know there's two different kinds of orgasms for ladies.
There's actually upwards of like 12.
Okay, there's upwards of 12, and I always
What
talk
are the
about
two
this,
that you know?
like the clitoral and the
G-spot and
cervical.
Cervical?
I
More than G-spot one.
is that G-spot?
No,
No, two different.
Cervical,
Okay.
definitely not the G-spot.
Okay, I feel like when I'm about to have a cervical one, I kind of freak out because it's like kind of really intense.
It's intense.
It's intense, so I'm just like, flip over, I'll get on top.
And then
I'll
you
just-
don't do. Oh my god,
Yeah.
me too. I'm like,
Okay.
no. But
I'm
why do
like,
I do that? Why don't I
feel
just
like
go
I'm gonna
for
shit
it?
myself
Why
or
don't I
something.
just go for it?
Afraid it's gonna
I
happen.
definitely think I'm gonna shit
It's
myself.
almost like this scary thing where I'm like, I can't
But if
handle
I
it.
just let it go a little bit further, it could be dominant, you know?
I think that's a really sensitive part, and
It's
I
hilarious.
think it's a vulnerable space for a lot of people
Yeah.
because it's like very much giving away a lot of your body and yourself and like that feeling, and so like I wonder what's stopping you from just like.
I honestly think
letting
it's
go.
from
Or are you
pooping.
worried you're gonna shit yourself?
Yeah, Lauren's always
That's not
scared
my
of pooping.
issue.
Like anything can set her off down there.
Thank God
I
I've been
wish.
with Jack for a while that I probably wouldn't scare him off if
you shit yourself.
You should probably try.
I mean, just put down a towel. You
yeah.
know, it's all good.
Oh, yeah, I know. So
That's so
I mean, hey,
gross.
you know your body. Like,
I
if
do.
there's like something going on where that's actually going to happen, like,
I don't
sure.
know if it could be, or it could just be like all the muscles like doing something, and I think it's that, but maybe
I think it's
not.
because it's in. So yeah, different kind of orgasms. Cervical would be like a very deep penetrating orgasm inside a vagina because it's where your cervix is, and so that is close to I think your. I don't know, like your stomach
I thought that was like
area
supposed to
almost. I think it can if you're not
you
relaxed
feel it in your
enough.
stomach.
And it's, it's different than like going to the OBG, the gynecologist, and having them poke around because you're not like relaxed and aroused usually.
yeah.
But like,
Wait,
it might
that's
be-
a great question. Why don't you get
Wait,
aroused?
I wanna
No,
talk-
that's
I want
why.
to talk about more orgasms.
Okay, fine.
we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
But because I think it's so close to like other areas of your body, just like after you have sex, sometimes you feel like you have to pee and then nothing really comes out because it's like so close to the bladder area that it might just be feeling that way. But I mean, I can't tell you for certain if you're going to shit yourself.
Right.
Try it out and
Oh,
see what
man.
happens.
I know. Oh God. Okay, so
Shit
we got
happens
those,
sometimes,
We got
you know?
those two, and what's another one?
So there's
That's like normal for us ladies without like doing.
There's vaginal, which is not all the way cervical, but just like inside. You said G-spot, so that would be like in and up inside the vagina.
In and up, okay.
There's clitoral, which is the the exterior part. I think important to note that like your clitoris is pretty big. And the only part that we see of it, that's just a little part of it. That's only like a fifth of the whole clitoris.
I did not know that.
Really?
I did not
Okay,
remember
so
that
if
from,
everyone-
I remember that from a diagram that like goes inside you.
So if everyone listening can do this, like put your thumb in between your pointer finger and your middle finger,
Okay.
like a V, and then turn that upside down. Okay, so if this is like the vagina, the thumb at the top part is the part of the clitoris that sticks out that you can
Oh, so it goes all the
see.
way
And
in
the
like that.
legs are behind the skin. You can't see them. They're underneath, but it has like 10 times maybe more nerve endings than the penis.
Cool.
And so that's why like the lips and the labia on the side and then parts inside also feel good. It's a lot due to the clitoris. Then there'd be like mixed orgasms, so like a combination of all
I
of
think
that
the
happening.
mix is the way to go,
Mixed.
everyone.
I like the mixed too. Some people
I love the way that I know this shit because of Cosmo. Like, I have been reading chapters and chapters in Cosmo for the past, like, 15 years.
Yeah.
And you don't read anything.
No, I don't. I explore on my own.
both equally good. You could leave her articles so she can explore later.
Can we talk about men coming now? Because I know that
You don't want to hear about the other ways we can
Oh
come?
yeah, I do actually. Wasn't sure if you were going to go in the alt club.
Oh, we could.
Okay.
So there's some people orgasm just from kissing. There's lots of people who have like spinal injuries that don't have feeling anymore in their genitals, and so they can orgasm from other erogenous zones.
But do they feel it in their
Like their nips and stuff.
So orgasm itself is kind of a mental experience. There's like a physical and a mental component. So you can have bodily or that feeling of orgasm with being stimulated like on your neck, on your mouth, on your nipples, on your elbow. Like it could be anywhere for some people. One that I think is particularly
Elbow's
cool
interesting.
is just purely a mental orgasm with no touch. So this happens when you do like orgasm training.
I saw somebody like they were like just touch with a feather or something. I think it was in a
is
movie.
this in that like
Yeah.
whatever days late? What is it called?
Josh Hartnett movie.
Yes, totally. And he touched her with like the magnolia, and then she like
Yes.
or the orchid or whatever.
So funny.
Well, so mental
That's
is
somewhere.
you could. What was that? It was like how many
40
days?
days and
40 days and
40 nights.
yeah.
40 days and 40 days. I love that movie. So what a great buildup. It's like orgasm training. So it's sort of like a dog, you know, like if you show them that like when you get this noise, like you get this treat.
Yeah.
Right.
You can train yourself when you hear this word, you will orgasm.
That's kind of like the
Pavlov's-
same way you can like create a
Pavlov's.
psychopath
Yes.
too. Right? Because
Create
like,
a psychopath?
Yeah, because like if you murder someone or whatever, you see something like violent, and while you're having sex, you're going to get trained to just be turned on by violence. Like you could do that either way. But you could do
Maybe.
with anything.
Hopefully people who
Oh,
are
I see
turned
what
on by
you're saying.
violence don't all become psychopaths.
So Jeffrey
but
Dahmer was like, you know, going through puberty, and then while he was going through puberty, he was dissecting a lot of animals. Therefore, he turned into like this
Psychopath.
Yeah.
Or he was
Whoa,
born,
that's
or he was born,
fascinating.
Or
that
he could have
way.
been born that way.
But I've seen people that I know who have like the word, and so they can go out to a bar and their partner will whisper the word, and they'll
Whoa,
have an
that's
orgasm
so
without
hot.
any touch or
That's
anything.
awesome.
That's so hot.
That's my new hobby.
Wait,
Yes.
how do you train yourself?
That's awesome.
Like conditioning, like I was saying, you train to associate a word or something with having an orgasm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who know how to do it that can like do it with you. So if your partner doesn't know, like I'm sure there's workshops and classes
That's so
around
cool.
orgasm training, but like that's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
That is
What if
so
you're in the
cool.
middle of a meeting and they
Oh,
say
yeah.
like,
Oh,
Yeah,
my
I mean,
God.
that's like
pencil?
banana squash.
Gotta bring extra underwear. That's so hilarious.
We just were reaching on something. You said something.
Oh, you want to talk about men?
guys.
Yeah, but were those all the 12
And
ways?
just other parts of your body, like
Right.
it could be, you know, non-erogenous, meaning like non-erotic genital spots
Right.
of your body.
I wanted to ask about pre-cum because there's all these myths surrounding it.
That's a good question.
So
I can't promise I know the answers,
Yeah.
but I will try.
I just want your take on it. Like, can you actually get pregnant from it? I feel like you know
yes.
a lot.
You totally can. The amount of times Lauren had a scare because of pre-cum and the amount of times I Yahoo'd answered that shit.
Oh yeah, she
I
comes
think-
to my room with like a printed scroll.
I was like, all 50 of these women got pregnant just off pre-cum.
I love how it's like Yahoo answer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the
Yeah.
interesting thing is you can help prevent that by having your partner pee before sex.
Yes, I know that.
Whoa.
Because
I didn't know that.
Because it's the same hole,
go ahead,
or
yeah.
it's the same like tube. So,
So if they pee, it just comes out in the pee, and then you can like fuck leisurely.
If
and
they-
the
if
urine kills
if they,
it
like,
because of the acidity.
and if they orgasm that
way.
day, or if they like come that day, you're more likely to get pregnant from that pre-cum because it's still in the.
The like
The hole.
vesicles,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
I love this.
So I mean, I think if you do it right and like train yourself, like the pull-out method, obviously not to prevent STIs, is like pretty effective to prevent unwanted pregnancy. But that's like if people know all these things and really like have good timing
Yeah.
and do it right. But like, you know, the perfect storm of like pre-cum and somebody ovulating,
Ovulation, yeah.
like
Yeah.
it could happen.
The perfect storm.
The perfect
What-
storm,
what is that?
unless you want it to happen.
Well, in order to have a good sex life, you need good physical health, and to get good physical health, you need to work out and take your vitamins. Right? So we
Right.
got ritual on deck. We got ritual, everyone. Nas, tell us a little bit about ritual.
Okay, so I love Ritual because it doesn't smell gross like other vitamins. Like normally vitamins make me really nauseous
Yeah, the
because of the
smell can
smell
make
of
you
it.
want to throw up.
Not only the smell of it, but the taste of it too. And you guys, I'm telling you, you have to try these vitamins before you just never. What am I trying to say? Write off vitamins for the
Yeah.
rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because it smells like mint and it doesn't affect my stomach or make me nauseous. And I just feel like so healthy every morning. I'm like, I'm such an adult just taking vitamins every day.
That's really good. I remember when I used to take like 50 billion vitamins because I was in like a real health kick, but I never felt good afterward. And I was just probably taking things I didn't really need.
Yeah.
So Ritual makes it so that you are taking really what you need and not like a whole bunch of extra stuff. It's vegan, sugar-free, non-GMO, gluten-free, and allergen-free. It's made in the U.S. without
Is it
synthetic...
allergen-free?
Allergen.
Allergen.
Oh.
Ha!
Yeah.
Okay,
Ah.
well, but this is delayed response capsules that bypass the stomach to help prevent nausea, and that's what we're all scared of, the morning vitamin nausea.
Yes, and you guys can visit their website and you'll learn everything from why each ingredient is beneficial to where it's sourced. So what you guys need to know is that this is a subscription-based service, so that way you have no gap in your nutrient levels. It's $30 a month, delivered right to your door, super easy. Buying the omega-3 yourself is the cost of a Ritual bottle.
And if you forget a few days, you can just snooze your order until you catch up. It's happiness guaranteed, no questions asked, and you cancel at any time.
Fill the gaps in your diet with the best sourced ingredients. Happiness guaranteed, no questions asked, cancel easily anytime.
So forget everything you guys thought about vitamins. Ritual is the brand that's reinventing the experience with the 9 essential nutrients that women lack the most. So if you're ready to invest in your health, do what we did. Go to ritual.com/getit. Your future self will thank you for taking Ritual. Consider it your lifelong health 401k. And all you have to do is put $1 a day in. Think of how much you already spend on your food, guys. So why put anything but clean ingredients backed by real science in your body? Go to ritual.com/getit. All right, back to the podcast. Sex addiction.
What about it?
I just want to know more about it.
Do you feel like that's a thing?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, can you be, or can you just like really enjoy sex?
Russell Brand really seems like he has it.
People do have sex
He
addictions.
is addicted to everything.
Yeah, that's true. He has addiction
He has,
issues.
yeah.
What do you think makes somebody addicted?
It's like a certain part of their brain.
like where they feel like they need it to be happy. Maybe
Lauren has addiction issues.
Not to sex though. Maybe Shake Shack.
We all know that.
to Shake Shack.
I mean, there's two schools of thought. I'm of the school of thought that does not believe in sex addiction.
Yeah,
Interesting.
And there are people out there who do believe in that as a word. I think both of these schools of thought like have different I don't know, they kind of like explain it the same way of like what's happening. But for an addiction, it's more like you said, like something in the brain that's happening. And all the studies and things they have so far like don't show the same in terms of how an addiction works like in your brain. Mm-hmm. And so instead, people who don't believe in calling it that call it something like out of control sexual behavior. Mm-hmm. Like I certainly believe that like sex can ruin your life or like run your life in a different way where it's affecting your life negatively. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's getting in the way of relationships, of work. It's like the thing that you use to feel good about yourself. Like I think we can have unhealthy relationships with sex for sure. I wouldn't call it an addiction, like, because it doesn't look the same as like having alcoholism or having a drug addiction. But, you know, you can have a problematic relationship with sex.
My friend says that him and his long-term girlfriend broke up because he just found out he's a sex addict. But I'm like, he's like, I just kept cheating on her and I'm pretty, and like I saw a therapist and I'm a sex addict. And I'm just like, I think maybe you just didn't like her enough and you wouldn't have cheated on her.
Or you're just a human being and have like other urges and have more trouble with like
monogamy,
urge control, or monogamy.
Yeah. Like maybe your frontal lobe needs to be a little bit more developed.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
But then, isn't that what addiction is? Urge control, Nicoletta?
Well, so some argue that the way that addiction works in the brain, like it looks like a certain mechanism is happening, and so when we look at sex addiction, the same thing isn't happening in the brain. And so it's different, but I think that's the argument now is that some people do believe it's like a biological thing that's happening that like you can't control. And so you have to like give up to this higher power and do the AA thing. And some people believe that like it's because of an unhealthy relationship with sex. Like you didn't learn about it. You didn't learn this. You didn't, you know, you have self-confidence issues. You have other issues. And like that's what's causing this unhealthy relationship with sex. Like sex is just sort of the symptom, but not the cause. But I think just the word sex addiction like has stigma for people because it used to be that they would call folks who are gay or who are into kinky stuff that they would be sex addicts, even if it was like totally consensual and fine. I also think there's a lot of celebrities who have used that as like a catch-all.
Yes.
Like, oh, I did this because I have this sex addiction. Like it's this like easy out for shitty behavior, or for like not controlling your behavior. And like, yeah, sure, maybe some of them need like some good help and support around like why they're doing this and what's really going on and what's causing it. But I think just to use it as like a catch-all doesn't really work. Like someone gave me an example one time, like, let's say you sneeze, and there can be so many different causes for that sneeze, right? Yeah. It's not that you have like a sneeze addiction. It's like it might be a cold. It might be dust. It might be, you looked at the sun. Like it could be
example.
So many different
lot of things go hand in hand.
Right. So for some, like it might be because they're depressed and they're looking to sex to soothe. It might be, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like sex can be very self-soothing. Maybe they're not happy in their relationship. Maybe they're not happy with themselves. Maybe they're struggling with a brain chemical thing that they don't have enough good feelings and they're looking to this. Maybe they don't feel good about themselves.
But then I'm a little confused because then couldn't you say the same for alcohol? There's a lot of different reasons why people drink.
Exactly why a lot of people will say that alcoholism isn't a disease.
Yeah.
Right.
Addiction
So then
is
you're
a
from
disease,
that school of thought and sex. So then you don't think alcohol
I don't know.
is an
I think I
addiction
don't know enough about it to say. I think that it's gone on for so long to label it as an addiction that like I think we've just like accepted it. And so we've more accepted that like AA is the thing that works and people do that and it is a disease.
Which also sucks for the people doing it because then some of them probably feel ashamed for calling themselves the word addict.
Yeah, but some people like having
a
label.
label, like you feel more comfortable with something. Like
and
if
that they have
you're
a community.
sick and you have a diagnosis, you're like, thank God, now I know exactly what to do.
Yeah, so I never
don't know.
call
I feel
it that.
people would feel more ashamed actually from it. Like, man, I'm an alcoholic.
Well, and some people I think like it because then they can put the blame on that.
That's
then
true.
They're like, I can't control myself. I have this addiction, this disease. And I think that takes ownership away from the person. And sometimes that feels good because it's like, I can't trust myself. I'm going to put it into this higher power.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
This is what we've always done and defined it.
I never use the word sex addiction to describe a client, but if they come in and they tell me like I'm a sex addict, I let them identify themselves like however they want. But we might still be doing the same work on like what is going on.
I feel like this conversation has brought up a lot of things I used to do differently than I do now. And I think it is basically just maturity, but maybe it also has to do with how we were taught about sex.
What kind of stuff?
Well, when I was like, okay, so yeah, I didn't learn like, I didn't pay attention maybe when I was growing up through like puberty about sex. Cause I was like, I'm so prude. I've never kissed a boy. I'm never going to need this. And then bada bing, bada boom, meet the older man who taught me everything. I'm doing everything within a month.
She went from having her first kiss to her first blowjob within 6 weeks.
And then he basically, looking back, completely used me for like this new young thing who was training. He was literally training me sexually. And then from that went on to just be like, oh, I learned all these new skills. I'm going to go to high school and like use this as my power. And then I never enjoyed sex ever until like a couple years ago.
Aw. That's sad.
But it was just like such an evolution. But I think like it takes like a lot of years for you to actually learn what you like.
What do you think happened that it didn't feel like fun and powerful anymore?
That is a very good question. I think when I stopped doing drugs, then
there's a whole other element in there.
I stopped having sex that I didn't enjoy. So then I started being like very sober during sex, and then I actually started to like enjoy it rather than put on like a porn show because that's where I learned it from. You know.
So before it sounds like you were doing it as a performance,
exactly. Yeah,
like you saw it as a
and now I'm just
a
like,
good or a service that you could have power with.
And now I'm just like, I don't feel like it, or I feel like it.
Like
and
a way to make
and
guys
I'm gonna
like
be
you.
Exactly. And I'm just going to be sober and I'm going to enjoy it.
I think a lot of girls feel like that sometimes growing up.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I need to be really good at giving head so guys like me. Like,
and then the word will get around that I'm good at head and then I'll be popular.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you said earlier. Like, oh, I'm going to rely on this guy to teach me
exactly
like what he needs or what he likes.
Exactly.
I mean, I think we overuse the word, but like the patriarchy or whatever, like this is a little bit of that, of just saying that like maybe we're put here for other people's enjoyment. And it's fine if you like that and you're aroused by that and you're into that, but it sounds like you started enjoying sex when you felt like it was yours.
That's true.
Exactly.
How did you get
everyone
it back?
should feel like it's theirs.
Yeah. Like, how did you reclaim it as yours?
Let's see here. Probably when I started just sleeping with one person.
Or with someone you really like.
Yeah, with
maybe.
someone you really like too, rather than just you want them to like you because they're X, Y, and Z,
Yeah, you know
famous,
when-
whatever.
When
yeah.
you started sleeping with somebody that was only one person, he was still awful, and then you still didn't enjoy it.
Oh well, he was a psycho.
Yeah, he
This was the
total
first
psycho.
guy?
No, this
is
was
in
my
her
like
early
third
20s.
boyfriend who
Yeah.
literally, when I was getting off, would get soft because I was enjoying myself.
But I think that's why I think it's like finding someone that you really like,
Yeah.
that you feel likes you back.
And
like,
also
for,
isn't
like,
going
in
to
a
force
good,
me into like we're having sex before we eat.
Is
And
that
I'm
a
like,
good
I
way
must
not be
eat
a
before
relationship?
sex.
He had a big smelly dick too.
You smelled it?
No, I just
That was his thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I need context.
No, this is his whole thing. Lauren like couldn't give him head because it tasted so bad.
What do you
Let's
think?
talk about weird tasting spunk. What were you just going to ask?
Well, no, I wonder what like made you feel like you couldn't speak up about this stuff.
Oh, I did. There was one time where I was crying. Like looking back on it, it was terrible. Like it was
and he
really
just wasn't
bad. And I was,
responsive.
I was like crying during sex,
Oh,
and
man,
it was
that's
like
awful.
That's like being raped.
literally. Look, I was talking to more
Yeah.
about this the other day. I'm like, literally, if that happened today with all of like this new stuff going on, I would be like, wow, I was just raped.
There's so many times in a day where I'm like, wow, this would never fly in 2018. Like, have you
Yeah.
guys been saying that a lot? It's just like
Yeah.
really crazy how far we've come.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's still work to be done, but there's definitely more empowered voices speaking out there. But I think that is why early sex ed is important, is because, to make young people feel empowered to like be able to speak up and get their needs met and know that like your pleasure and your joy matters and that that's important and that it's not for somebody. It's
Yeah.
up to you if you want to share that with them
Like
or
I
not.
never thought it was like part of sex to have the woman get off. Honestly, I was like, whenever he's
Yeah.
done, it's done, and that's
Yeah.
it.
And I think really crazy.
That's
in
literally
1950s
now. I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm not
thinking that. I'm
surprised.
just realizing.
No,
that
I think
now.
that's for most people, most
Yeah.
girls.
not today.
Not today, but like in our generation growing up, I think it was all about like getting the guy.
I think
off.
I
when
think
you're-
it
I think
still
when you're in
happens.
high school, I think it's like a young thing. I don't think you start feeling like you deserve it until you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
And some people, even in their 20s, don't because they've had this lifetime of experience without it. So I'm glad that you like came back and had that experience
Right.
and are enjoying it now. But I do think sometimes without support, like people definitely don't. Like I've had people in their 40s plus who have never had an orgasm, either with their self or another person. And it's not physically caused. So I think it is still happening. And young people, too, who have never had an orgasm or never had one with a partner. So it's definitely still happening.
Do you know what percentage of women like don't orgasm? Because I feel like reading Cosmo, it always says like a lot of women actually don't.
Like 30% need like help with a toy or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think it's 30%, only 30% can come from like vaginal intercourse alone. And for only 10% of women, that's their most reliable way. So I don't know if it's not that it's not possible. I think we're just like going about it the wrong way. And you got to use some of those other like 11 plus ways.
I am so excited to introduce food into my sex life, guys.
Shake Shack.
What's going to be your first food stop?
No,
Wait, you're gonna put French fries up your stomach?
No, what if you, Lauren? What about this?
No,
experience?
I'm eating the food.
Lauren, what about this experience? You put a Shake Shack burger in your mouth the same time
Wow.
that he goes inside.
Okay.
Oh,
I think that's
All
actually
right.
pretty sensory.
Yeah.
But then maybe, okay.
It's like those Carl Jr. commercials.
Yes.
Lauren, that way you get your booty back.
I gotta get my booty
what's
back.
going to be your first food stop?
A Junior Whopper.
Onion rings around his penis.
Wait a second, that's a great idea.
That grosses me the fuck out. I fucking hate onion rings and onions and the breath of onions.
Oh, damn.
It's fine if you're both eating it.
It's fine for both eating it, but like onions to me will
donut.
never. Donuts is a good alternative for me.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's what I like. Can't wait to hear about it.
Thank you.
I once started having sex one time with my partner because I like spilled ranch. I think we were like eating naked, and then I like ranch got on my tit.
Ranch, another great idea.
Yeah, and then he like licked the ranch off, and then like that was it.
Amazing.
So yes, I support.
Okay.
So much learned.
So you are a
it.
family and marriage counselor. What do you get as like the number one issue couples come to you with?
How can we make sex exciting again?
But like it's
a more marriage and relationship.
No, I just want to
too.
know like if not just sex, but like what number one issue do you have in a relationship?
I think most of the people come in that I see and there is a sexual issue, but usually something else is uncovered, whether it's like a connection or intimacy thing. I think the biggest issue is just sexual desires that aren't lining up.
Yeah, like what do you do?
Well, so yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we don't always have the same desire level as our partner. And then usually one of us like wants it in the morning and the other one wants it at night. And I want it this many times a week and they want it this many times a week. Like it's hard to line up. I mean, I think it's talking about the expectations of sex and like what do we expect from our partner? What would feel like good enough sex? Making sure we work out other things in the relationship that like aren't going well. And we talk about too, like how they learned about sex and where these beliefs are coming from. I think compromise does have to happen.
How does the compromise happen? Does like somebody end up just like doing it more than they want to do it?
well, I think they go see Nicoletta, right? And then she sits with them
Introduces
and gives
things
them
that would make them a little more
yeah,
aroused.
gives suggestions to each person.
Well, I think it's asking yourself, like, if the schedule stuff lining up is like a deal breaker for you, that's maybe something you should like figure out before
Getting married
or before getting in a relationship with someone. Like if you're like, hey, you know, this is kind of a struggle, but like this isn't a deal breaker, fine. Then you figure out how to have like good enough connected sex. But if you're like, I'm really into this one thing and it's so important to me to have it and your partner's not into it, like maybe you're dating like the wrong species. I don't mean like you should date animals. I just mean like, you know, dating the wrong person. But I think, especially in a long term, if it's a monogamous relationship, like setting up sounds simple, but like setting up a sex date.
Yeah, I think those are cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, you know, it doesn't have to be the pressure of like you're gonna have sex, but being like this relationship is important. We're gonna set aside this time every week to like do something for ourselves. And if sex happens, great. And if it doesn't, like it's just a time to connect and be together. And I think there's different levels of wanting in a relationship. Like sometimes we want our partner because we're just like horny and want to get off and we're turned on and excited by them and want to do it. And I think another level of wanting is like, I'm not really in the mood right now, but I know that this connection is important to my relationship. And I'm willing to be open to getting turned on because I want to connect with my partner and I know it's important.
And turning you on turns me on. Do you think people that are more sexually active, whether it's with themselves or with other people, as opposed to people who aren't really sexually active with themselves or with other people, do you think those people are happier?
Good question. I think it's not a problem unless it's a problem, right? Like if you have a couple that like really doesn't prioritize sex and like it doesn't matter to either of them and they're fine, like who cares?
Yeah.
That's great. Whatever.
But there's no science behind it, really, like studies.
I mean, there's science that shows that like masturbation and having sex has health benefits in terms of like dopamine release and happiness and good for fighting your immune system. I don't know if I know, I'm sure there are studies out there. I don't know if I know any of the results that say like if they're happier.
Right.
I think it just matters like if it's important to you in the relationship.
Yeah. Jack was like, we got to have more sex, build our immune systems. He
Yeah.
literally showed me an article. And I was like, I guess you're right. Like, yeah.
Because
never
you know
get
what?
sick,
You know how people
We
say,
never
So
get
you're
sick.
yeah,
We're fine.
you know how people say like, oh, this person is so uptight, like they need to get fucked. I guess
Yeah.
that's more
you
mainly
agree
what
with
I was
that?
like asking about, huh?
Do you agree with that?
No, that's why I was asking you, is that a real thing or not?
Yeah, that's
Because
annoying.
I hear
That's
it
an
all the
annoying
time.
comment.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, oh, so then does that mean people that are more sexually active or in tune with themselves sexually are actually happier? Like,
More
do they have
relaxed.
higher dopamine levels than people that aren't getting fucked out there?
I think as long as you've really done the work to make like an insightful, educated choice about not having sex be a priority, then you can be just as happy. That's my opinion. I think it's different to not be having sex because it's like you don't have a choice or you don't have available partners or you're not connecting with your partner or you're sick of each other and so you're just not doing it. Like I think all those it's hard to isolate just the sex because it's probably like other shit's going on that's making this connection bad. But if you've like made an informed choice to be like, sex isn't really a part of our thing, we've tried this, everything else in our relationship is going well, it's just not really something that's happening right now, and you're like fine with that, I think you could be just as happy.
Yeah, people used to say with Ashley all the time, or behind her back.
That what? I just
Like, oh, she needs to get fucked.
Yeah, and I'd be like, no, I'm just a wound up person. I'm very type
You're
A.
very type A.
You're
Also,
like, I'm probably having sex now, and I still am wound up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just who she is.
No, it's just who I am. Yeah, that's rude.
Yeah.
I feel like I am happier when I am more sexually active as opposed to not.
How come?
I think it's because your relationship status. I don't think it's the actual physical act.
No, I think it's the physical. No, you're right. Like part of it's companionship, but I think okay. So I think when I'm alone, because I'm alone so often, and I'm so busy, if I don't have someone to think about or think about the next time I'll hang out or the next time I'll have like a D inside of me, I'm thinking about other things like my schedule, a meeting I have to set up tomorrow. But then when you add a man into that equation, it makes all the other stuff less intense and less like regimented. Does that make sense?
Just
it's
like if it was the
this is a
opposite,
fun
you
thing.
know?
So it's like a welcome outlet and distraction for you.
Yes, that's why I also asked that too, because I think, I don't know, I feel
That's
like...
also like if you have nothing else going on but only a man, you're driving yourself crazy just thinking about that. So you need like the balance.
Right. Yeah, work-life balance. But I feel like if you don't have the sex or the guy or the girl or yourself, whoever's listening to this, I think then you're just constantly thinking about life, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a stigma for like using sex as like a way to feel connected to people.
Yeah.
Like I think some people get a bad rap for being like, oh, you're using sex to validate yourself or to feel good about yourself. But I wonder why we have this thought about sex when we do that with a lot of other things. Like
Exactly.
maybe for you it's buying shoes. Like maybe for me it's like binging Netflix and watching like all of a series in one sitting. Like those are things that have become like normalized self-care. But I think as a culture we really don't prioritize like leisure and pleasure. And so I think it's okay to have sex be a coping tool in some ways, as long as maybe you know,
You're
or have
not
other
harming yourself
outlets.
other ways, like emotionally. But the reason why I wanted you to bring
Yeah.
that up is because don't you guys feel like whenever someone in your life is, you know how so many people say, oh, well, she's just using him for sex, or he's just using her for sex. Exactly what she's saying. What? So what?
Yeah, I guess as long
Why
as the
is
other
that
person's
such a-
like hopes
As long
aren't
as
getting
both
up.
people are in it for
using
the
each
same
other.
reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, don't we use everyone for some? I don't want to say use because it sounds bad, but like, don't we all get something from like
Yeah.
our relationships and things with
relationships,
people?
Get something from going to the movies. Like you
Yeah.
get something with everything.
Well, it'd be different if there's a power dynamic, like you were talking about earlier with this older guy who you felt like was like training you,
Yeah.
and maybe you weren't getting something out of it. Not that every exchange you have to get something out of, but I think it's different if like someone with a higher power is like taking something from you versus if you're like on the same power level and you've consented and decided to like.
Yeah, I was just hoping that he would make
Do
me his
sex with
wife,
each
but
other?
he wasn't.
Yeah, but that wasn't like
now in hindsight, but
so that wasn't like necessarily pleasurable for you. Maybe it was at times, but
no, you didn't get anything out
No,
of it.
but I learned a lot, which is, good. I guess as a student, you learned, and he taught.
you live and
Yeah.
you learn.
yeah.
My question was for all the couples that come into your practice, do you feel like there's one thing they should know, like a quick solution to a lot of problems that people don't try before going into therapy?
Go to therapy earlier.
Talk to your partner.
Yeah, talk communication, obviously. I mean, I think a lot of people wait to come to my office when it's been like 10 plus years
Oh my gosh.
of like this is like their last resort. And so I really try to encourage people to like do things, whether it's therapy or classes, like do things preventatively to add to your relationship, like have relationship like weekly or monthly like check-ins to like take the relationship temperature and like talk and have those conversations and like touch base and see how things are going, because the resentment just builds over time. So if you can like get it proactively and learn how to better communicate early on, I would say that's key. But it really is like communication, but a lot of people don't know how to do that. Like, wouldn't it be great if we had communication and sex ed classes in school? So I think, it's just making time for the relationship, and that work doesn't mean that it's bad.
Yeah.
I would say that's like an overlapping
Yeah,
theme.
like don't give up, guys. Work it out.
Work
Everyone
it
just gives up and breaks
out.
up. Did you have another question?
I mean, of
Yeah.
course, there's some like shitty relationships that you like should maybe get out of. But at the same time, like I said, I think with that instant gratification culture, if we are so used to just like swiping next, people think that hard work equals bad. So when they're like, oh, the relationship and sex is now taking work, that means something's wrong. It doesn't always mean something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I thought it'd be fun if we went around the table and talked about the one thing that makes us feel uncomfortable when we talk about this topic.
Oh, I like that.
You mean only sex-wise or really like in with
I think
in the sexual
Sex,
landscape?
yeah.
One thing that makes us uncomfortable?
Yeah. Okay. So mine is I hate the word fuck or fucked. Like it makes me feel so uncomfortable when Naz just referred to like people
Like, she
not
needs to
getting
get fucked.
fucked. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know. It just makes me like feel very like cringy and like it's just I guess I don't like the thought of it just being detached and just a physical thing and not have any sort of like a relationship attached to it.
Why does fucked make you think it's not? There's no relationship attached to it.
because they're making love, they're not fucking.
But it also sounds passive too, right? Like getting fucked means someone is doing something
you know
to
what?
you.
Thank you for pinpointing it on me. It definitely to me feels almost like a rape thing. Like you're getting fucked. Like you're getting railed.
Like you're laying there and taking it.
Yeah, you're taking
As
it.
opposed to like you're doing this thing with somebody.
Yes.
Like someone's doing a thing to you.
Yes. Wow, you just really...
What if they said like I'm fucking with you?
Oh, well, in that context as like a different type of
Not like
verb.
fucking with you
It's
negatively,
different.
but
Yeah.
like kissing with, remember?
Yes. That's right.
funny.
Did I say that on your podcast that I felt
I
uncomfortable
think
with that?
no, I think Simone was talking about like using the word kissing with to describe someone you're like hooking
Oh,
up
that's
with.
right. Instead of saying hooking up,
Like
she
we're
was
kissing
this
with.
guy I'm kissing with.
That's cute. I like that.
I like that. Well, hooking up is so many definitions.
Yeah, like, what does that even
too.
mean?
Yeah.
You
Shake
come up
Shack
with
together.
one because I can't think
I
of
can't
one.
think
I'm
of
not
one right
uncomfortable
now.
with a lot of things.
Yeah, same.
You're comfortable with a lot of it, or you're
I'm not uncomfortable with a
Yeah,
lot of
so
it.
you are
So I'm
comfortable
comfortable.
with both things.
Yeah, Nicoletta, do you have one? I have to think for
I'm
a
sure
second.
you're not uncomfortable at anything.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard a lot of things. I think for a while I did not like hearing about like poop stuff.
Okay.
I think it's still something that I like in relationships. Like I never want my partner to like know or see that happens.
That's
Right.
so
For me.
funny.
That is funny
Yeah.
for somebody who's so
Yes,
bodily
and
you're so open.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it's coming from a place of like wanting to keep it mystery.
Sexy?
Yeah, like
Mystery?
sexy
Yeah.
mystery. That there's this pressure to keep it sexy. Like, oh, don't want to fart in front of you. Like, let's keep these things a mystery. Don't want to shit in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, let's
Yeah.
keep it a mystery.
I get
So when I
that.
hear people talking about it, I'm like, okay, but it's definitely not my
in your relationship.
fetish
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Got it.
Come on, guys.
I can't think of one.
Well, I guess that's it's not a shameful thing if you have this thing. That
I
makes you
really don't like
uncomfortable.
bestiality.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone at this table does.
That's a hard limit for you.
You can't like acknowledge that like and be like okay with it. Like if you're talking to someone like as a client or something, it's like I'm into like fucking dogs or something. You have to be like that's
Yeah.
terrible, right?
Yeah, it's animal cruelty.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
illegal.
Okay,
Lauren.
I'm just saying like you can't respect that as their sexuality.
I
a
mean,
pedophile, you can't respect that.
No,
That's
that's
not,
actually
like,
a fair
right.
question.
Pedophilia and bestiality are quite
Well,
similar.
no, because Nicoletta's actually, aren't you an expert in like people that are attracted to minors? Am I right or
yeah,
wrong about
I
that?
do work
You
with
are.
those folks.
So you work.
Okay.
So yeah. So then, what is your answer to that question?
to find support and find healthy and legal ways to get that interest met.
okay.
Yeah, but I think there are other cultures that like do normalize it. There was like a Vice special, so if you're really curious and you want to see some donkey stuff,
Oh my
check
God.
out
I
the
saw
Vice
Mr.
special.
Mr. Hands. Have you seen
Oh,
that video?
no.
Sorry.
She won't. She doesn't like horses anymore.
now. I think they're evil.
Oh,
They killed
no.
the man.
Yeah, but the man was sticking it in them, Lauren.
I'm so
No, it
lost.
wasn't actually. Okay, this horse.
I did
the
not know
horse
this
was
conversation
doing it
was
to
going to
him.
go to
This
bestiality.
horse fucked the guy and ripped
Yeah.
his colon and he died. But the guy, all he did was like bend over bare ass in front of him and the horse
really?
fucked him to death.
What?
Oh, I didn't
And now I hate horses.
Sorry, I didn't know the horse did it.
Well, I guess this makes me uncomfortable too.
There you
That's
go.
my thing. 'Cause
Bestiality.
I
So-
wish I never knew that
Yeah.
story. I wish I
I
could
saw
go
that when I
back
was
to
a sophomore
5
in high
minutes
school
ago.
and I said, fuck these horses.
I'm so sorry. Well, I do ride horses, so if you ever want to come have a different kind of positive,
You
non-sexual
look like you ride
experience.
horses, like your hair blow, your like red hair
'Cause
blowing.
it's
your
Yeah,
way.
she
crazy
looks
hair.
like Brave, but like IRL.
Totally.
I came up with
go.
something.
We gotta go.
Oh shit, I forgot what it was. just
Bestiality
now.
is always a good note to end on, you know?
Yeah.
So mine is slut shaming, I guess.
But you're like not defined. You're not. Very
I
slutty.
think no, it's not for me personally.
Okay.
Some
I
of
think
these feel
when
uncomfortable
people,
is when people
yeah,
slut
when
shame.
people are like, "Oh, she's such a slut," and it's like, well, I don't know.
You guys.
How do you know? Like, who are you to say that someone's a slut?
But actually, you even said, like, you were called, like...
virgin shaming?
Yeah,
but
but you were even called a slut when you weren't even doing
I was
anything.
like a slutty virgin.
So it's like
Yeah.
you can't
Because I like
win.
dress sexy.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other topic that I forgot to bring up, and she's got to go now. But
Well, that's what I think when people use the word slut, it's like, who are you to call anyone else a slut?
I
That's
agree.
that's my
Yeah.
thing.
Well, just as shameless self promo, like obviously check out Sluts and Scholars if we have a full episode on like the word slut and
Yes.
how that makes people feel. I mean, we've had people reject our podcast for lots of certain things because of the name. And so we think it's important to have it in there, but there's definitely like a risk because a lot of people are not on board with that word, even when it's like reclaimed.
Right.
got
Well,
it.
this was lovely. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
for having
so
me.
informative.
on iTunes and then also on XM Sirius.
Yeah, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and then we do have a show on Sirius XM on Vivid Radio.
So cool.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
guys.
Amy.
Nicoletta.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.